The pastor of the largest Protestant church in America, Pastor Craig Groeschel, shares his daily success habits, how he spends the first 3 hours of his day, the importance of finding great people early on when building something, developing strength through systems, how to build a great family while simultaneously growing a great organization, the importance of saying no, how his first remote location actually didn't go very well, how he proactively retrains his mind by intentionally creating neural pathways, how he deals with criticism on social media, why he has 2 phones, and much, much more.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, welcome back to another exciting edition of the Thrive Time Show on your radio and podcast download. On today's show, we are interviewing a pastor who has led a team that has now created the largest Protestant church in America. They started this church in a 2-car garage equipped with a borrowed overhead projector, because that's the key to success there, DZ. It's the borrowed overhead projector. That's the thing. He went on to co-create 6 kids. To one-up me, he co-created 6 kids. Hopefully on today's show we can ask him how that's possible. And he also created the world's most popular Bible app called the YouVersion Bible app with over 350 million downloads. And he's also the best-selling author of the new book, Hope in the Dark, Believing God is Good When Life is Not. Pastor Craig, welcome onto the show, sir.
Hey, Clay and Dr. Z, I'm glad to be on with you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I got to ask you this because you are a man. I feel like you have so many things going on. You got the book going on. You have the 30 campuses going on. Every time I turn on YouTube, you're there. Your leadership podcast, one of the clients I coach, a company called Master Machine, they love your leadership podcast. They were just talking about this morning. You appear to be everywhere. So I want to ask you, what time do you wake up every day, and what do those first 3 hours of your day typically look like?
The latest I'll get up is 6:30. Sometimes I'll be in the office as early as maybe 5 in the morning. That's maybe 1 day a week, possibly 2. The first 3 hours of the day is kind of boring, but what I try to do is get to the office as fast as I can. So I eat, I come up to the office, and I do a 5-minute kind of brain training where I'm focusing my brain, meditating. I do my YouVersion Bible reading plan. I spend a few minutes praying, and then I kind of attack the day and I try to spend the early part of the morning before other people get in doing study time, because the office heats up around 8:30 or 9, and so I'm most creative in the morning, and that's when I'm knocking out the kind of stuff that I study. And so I wish I could tell you there's like more secret fun stuff, but that's about it. It's pretty boring.
Okay, when you are meditating or training your brain, this is what I'm picturing, Z, and maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I picture something where it's like, I'm training my brain. There it is. That's me training my brain.
Do better, brain. Stop.
But I mean, is that how you do it, or what do you look when you're?
That is so weird, because that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. We got that.
What's that? What does that look like for you? I think someone out there wants to know, like, okay, if they could be a fly on the wall, are you standing upside down on your head? Or are you levitating rocks with Yoda? What are you doing?
I'm sitting back in my chair, leaning back with my feet up on the desk, listening to an app, and having some guy tell me to focus on my breathing and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah.
So now you have built this church, this overnight success story. It's happened overnight, by the way. This just didn't. It happened overnight. And you started in 1996. That would mean I was 16 years old at the time. And now here we are, 2018. I'm 37. So I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. We have a lot of entrepreneurs out there that are starting with nothing, just like how you started the church, which is what intrigues me about your story so much. Can you talk to us about starting a church with approximately 40 people in a 2-car garage equipped with a borrowed overhead projector? Where did you start? What did the process look like of starting what we now know as Life Church?
Well, that's pretty close. The only thing that's not accurate is they actually donated the overhead projector, so we did own that.
Oh,
wow.
oh,
There we go.
And,
Assets. Right
that
there.
was that honest to goodness was the extent of it. Everything we had was borrowed from, a guy bringing his keyboard, and we had borrowed green felt back chairs from a Sunday school class that I would not wish on anybody. I think anytime anybody's starting anything, it's incredibly difficult. You second guess yourself the whole time. To me, it's always about trying to find the right people early on, and that's what's really, really, really challenging to do. When it starts growing and things start to make it gets really chaotic, and that's when you have to kind of start putting systems in place and such. And so we had some kind of early success. We had someone write an article on us, and we boomed up to 164 people. Well, the church fell back down to about 80 people because we didn't have the right systems. We weren't able to track people. We weren't able to follow up with them. And so, you kind of have to grow at a healthy pace. There is, as you guys know, as entrepreneurs, you can grow too fast. You can, not have enough cash or whatever. And so, we just little by little we tried to do the next right thing, and we went from a little 2-car garage to a elementary school, and then we bought a 10,000 square foot bike factory and made it into a church, and then 3 years later managed to get a real building out of the ground.
The thing that I'm most impressed with about you is, from what I can tell, it appears as though you have a good relationship with all 6 kids, and you have a great relationship with your incredible wife, who, by the way, I don't know if she's seen you, because I think you've tricked her into marrying you. She's a
man. Did I pull one off there or what?
You did. I've heard you talk about that before. I mean, don't go see make sure she doesn't see an optometrist like Dr. Z.
We'll keep her just a little blurry. Don't worry about that.
Amazing. Yeah.
So how do you, when you're starting a church, I did it wrong. I didn't start a church, but I started a business, and I did it wrong. I didn't do this. So this is me looking back at it in hindsight, but I put every second of every day into starting DJ Connection. I got to work at 4 or 5 in the morning every day. I would finish working at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And then I got to a place where I was pretty positive my kids didn't know my name. And then I thought, why am I sleeping on this couch? Can you talk to us about the balance? How have you been able to balance your schedule? How do you do that? How do you get it all done?
Well, so we really, really, really do honestly have a super strong marriage. Things are really healthy. And we haven't had any real marriage, massive marriage problems, but I will say I have not always gotten it right. In the early years, I had a wake-up call. I was a lot like you. My daughter one time said to me, my oldest daughter, I said, "I'll see you tonight when I get home." And she said, "Daddy, you don't live here. This isn't your house. You live at the office." And so I really was like that. The advantage that I had is kind of that Amy was all in with me. So there was never, it wasn't like I was building something that she felt like was bad or competing with the marriage. She was invested with me in it. In the later years, we have to work really, 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 really hard to keep things leveled out. As you've got a lot of kids, you can have 2 kids and they can wear you out with the schedule. And so it's just the old, what everybody teaches is you have to put the big priority places in first, and that's what we work really, really, really hard to do. We've been kind of religious with a date night, doing one, almost every single week. We fight really, really hard for one full day off and try not to compromise that. And then we have to just be really, really intentional with our kids because there are so many of them, and as they get older, they get more complicated. But there's not a trick to it. There's nothing easy about it. It's intentionality, and it doesn't matter if you have no kids and you're working somewhere. If you're not intentional, you will be overwhelmed. And I mean, you'll do stupid stuff like spend hours on social media or playing games, and life will take over. And we have to fight against the normal trajectory to have something that's really different.
Pastor Craig, would you address somebody out there who's listening right now, and they say, "Oh, it's a pastor of a church. I bet he never says no to anything. He's got all these people and answering the phone and his schedule. People calling him up and because that's one of the things I'm struggling with. When to say no, when to say yes. Can you address that in your life and the transition you made from probably saying yes a lot more to probably saying, I would think maybe no some more now?
Well, in the early years, I had to say yes most of the time. It was the right thing to do. There wasn't anybody else to delegate to, and so I had to do most of it. Today, I don't want to sound weird, but my default answer is no. In invitations to go places, it's almost always a no. It has to be pretty special even to get in front of me for me to consider saying yes to it. It just, with so many moving parts, all your entrepreneurs will realize this. To grow any organization,
come on now,
you have to say no to other things and say yes to only the things that you can say yes to. As we grow, we're going to do fewer and fewer things that add more and more value. But if you don't say no to other things, then you're going to keep other people from rising and being invested. And so it's actually selfish, and saying too many yeses not only will hold you back and hold you down, but it's going to hold your organization back. So we grow with strategic no's.
Marshall, the renowned business coach and the co-author of the Amazon best-selling book, Start Here. Why is that such a knowledge bomb that you grow through no's and saying yes to only your best?
Well, yeah, you have to say no to the good things so that you can make room for the great things. And Pastor Craig, he does a phenomenal job talking about this. You got to allow yourself the ability to say yes to these great things.
You know what I want to do? I want to create a new neural pathway.
New neural one.
And I'm going to go ahead and bring it back. Bring it back.
To grow any organization,
come on now,
you have to say no to other things and say yes to only the things that you can say yes to. As we grow, we're going to do fewer and fewer things that add more and more value. As we grow, we're going to do fewer and fewer things that add more and more value. As we grow, we're going to do fewer and fewer things that add more and more value.
Building new neural pathways.
As we grow, we're going to do fewer and fewer things that add more and more value.
Changing habits.
Fewer and fewer things that add more and more value.
Marshall, although I know the listeners and I want to just play that back over and over and just marinate, slow rotisserie style. You know when you get some good meat and you just marinate on it?
Yeah.
I know a lot of the listeners just want to marinate on that all day, because doing fewer things that add greater and greater value is a profound knowledge bomb for anybody trying to nail it and scale it. I mean, at the elephant in the room, we do not create a new marketing strategy every week.
No, you don't have to do 17 different marketing strategies and come up with a new idea of the week every single week to have success in your business. You got to do fewer things in order to have success.
But as a culture, people are addicted to new girlfriends, new jobs, new churches, new material goods. But you don't become successful as a result of doing new things all the time. You have to cherish the things you have. You have to be a good steward of your marriage, a good steward of your business, a good steward of your favorite pair of shoes. Marshall, preach the good news for somebody out there who's bought into the lie and the addiction of new and constantly doing new things, new technology. Help somebody out there.
Doing things new every single week is a product of believing in this get-rich-quick scheme. It's not possible. There is something such as get-rich slow, and you got to go low and slow.
Did you hear it took him 3 years to build his first building? 3 years. My main man, Craig Groeschel, has been doing this since 1996. 1996. Now, what year is it right now, Marshall? 2018.
Yeah,
doing some math. Math. This just in. That's 22 years he's been committed to daily diligence, the consistency. And now back to our exclusive interview with Pastor Craig Groeschel, the pastor of the largest Protestant church in America. Over 100,000 people attend the church, 250,000 people watch online each and every week, and 350 million people have downloaded their Bible app. Mind-blowing.
Your entrepreneurs, they're going to have great opportunities to go and do kind of good ideas. Too many good ideas will take them off the great ideas. We have to be strategic in saying no, and that's you grow with no's more often than you grow with too many yeses.
Well, that's a great word. That is a great word. Thank you for sharing that.
That right there, that was powerful. You grow through the no. I'm going to put that on a shirt and sell it and give you all the money. I think that's incredible. That's an impressive. That's where my mind goes. Anytime I see a good quote, I'm like, we can put that on a shirt and sell it at a conference.
Absolutely.
Now, Pastor Craig, your church is very proficient in technology. But I would say that most churches that I've ever worked with as a consultant or churches I've ever attended, they seem to be kind of clumsy with technology. Now, that's a broad statement, but you know what I mean? Like Church on the Move in Tulsa is great with their technology. But a lot of churches are kind of clumsy with the video and the audio and how they do things. And you guys are excellent. You obviously didn't start off excellent. When did you decide to put the church on the video? When did you decide to broadcast to multiple campuses?
Well, I think churches are becoming better. So I'll kind of speak up for my friends.
In my face.
We never planned. I'm sorry.
In my face. My face. There we go.
Yeah. we never planned to do this. So what happened is we got our first building out of the ground in 1999, 3 years into it, and we kind of outgrew the building, and so we were turning people away, like literally we couldn't fit them in for fire code and such, and so we didn't know what to do. The church was really young, and 22-year-olds don't have the financial capacity typically that most 55-year-olds, and so we couldn't afford to expand, and we were stuck. Someone said, and I don't even remember who it was, what if we did church in another location? This was 1999, maybe 2000, and that was pretty much unheard of. I didn't know anybody else doing it, and so we said, is it legal? Can we try that? And we did. We rented a movie theater 7 miles away, and we put a second band up there, and we did church in our main building and then in a movie theater. Well, one Saturday night after I preached on Saturday, my wife gave birth to our fourth kid. Wow. About 4 a.m, and so I wasn't going to leave her to go back and preach. We didn't have time to get one of the pastors kind of ready, and so he said, what if we ran the video from the Saturday night service and just played it on Sunday morning? People understand they just had a baby and such. Well, we did it, and we never really realized, but in the size of our auditorium, people rarely looked up at the person. They were often looking at the screens. And so it kind of went off without a hitch. In fact, even though they told the people I wasn't there, a lot of people didn't even really remember. And so we started scratching our head. I wonder if this would work, if we just showed video teaching. So we tried it in a second location, and it didn't work. It failed because we thought, hey, if we show video and kind of have an MC up there, then it will work. Well, we misdiagnosed the opportunity. And that's when we had to kind of change everything that we do. We build leaders that then build churches. It's not video teaching that builds churches. It's spiritual leaders that build churches. I
have a little confession. And since you're a pastor, I feel like I should make a confession here.
Confess. I'll say you're forgiven.
I listen to T.D. Jakes every single morning. And I like to listen to the same sermon over and over. So right now I'm listening to the sermon, Nothing is as powerful as a changed mind. And I listen to it all the time. Well, then the guys, one of my clients with a company called Master Machine, they said, hey, we listened to Craig Groeschel's leadership podcast in our office. We listen to it all the time. You should listen to it. And you did this one about the mind recently and how the mind works. Mm-hmm. I think it was called a series called like The Mastermind. And it was mind-blowing for me. So I just want to confess to TD Jakes, if you're listening, I'm sorry that I've been kind of cheating on you a little bit here and checking out Pastor Craig's podcast. There's only so many hours in a day, so I had to skip a couple days to listen to yours. So I don't know. I'm in a moral conundrum. We'll deal with that later. But talk to me about this new series, the one you just released, and what that was all about, because it was so powerful for me, and I know for the guys at Master Machine.
So I told you earlier that in the mornings you try to train my mind. I'm fascinated with this. My mind is kind of one of my biggest challenges. My self-talk can be really negative, can be hard on myself, and so I love both the spiritual truth about how the mind works and then science. God created the mind, and so learning how God designed the mind is really fascinating. We know now that the mind is not fixed. That is, we study neuroplasticity, that the mind is evolving. And so what I'm trying to do is rewire. The Bible would call it renew your mind, or we might say retrain my mind with truth. And I'm trying to create new neural pathways. The more you think a thought, the easier it is to think that thought. And so if I think I'm no good, I can't do this, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, I don't have what it takes, there's never going to be enough time to get it all done, I'm basically, creating a self-defeating narrative in my own mind. So what I tried to do in that message series is to help people understand where we've created wrong thinking, wrong neural pathways, and then replace those with truth, with what Scripture says, and what's positive, so that we can then think the truth, which leads us into a much better life. And so that's a 1-minute summary of 4 weeks of teaching.
The amygdala, the part of the brain, the almond-sized part of the brain that controls the emotions. It's amazing. We've had more and more experts on the show. We're having a lot of Silicon Valley gurus on the show. We had a woman on the show just the other day, Miss Ellen, who Petrie Leanne's. She was on the show, and she actually studied what the brain, what the smartphone's doing to the brain, these constant interruptions. And Psychology Today came out and said that the average person is now interrupted 85 times per day minimum, and that people are now having the critical thinking skills of like third graders because they're constantly in a state of perpetual distraction. You have so many data points. How many people go to your church on a typical Sunday, do you think, or are watching online?
There would be anywhere between 80,000 and 100,000 that comes to a building, and then another probably 250,000 that would watch it live online.
Okay, and so when you do a sermon, as an example, you did the one about demon possession that I watched, and you did that, and I remember watching it. I was in a hotel with my wife, and I'm going, what is this guy talking about? This is what I said. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then it made sense to me later, but at the beginning, I'm like, what is he talking about? Because you're kind of teeing it up. Now, I didn't go on social media and write, I strongly disagree. But that's what a lot of people do. I strongly disagree. You have to have at least a few complaints every week, right? From social media or Twitter or people that disagree with what you're doing or what you're...
Yes.
How do you handle the amygdala, and how do you protect it from allowing that small almond part of the brain to control your entire body?
Yeah, well, sometimes it does, unfortunately. The fight or flight, the amygdala says strike back, and so there are times when someone gets personal. I just want to say, here's my address, and name the time and show up. as a pastor, I'm just not allowed to do that. And so, on a good day, I stay above it. I don't let it get to me at all, and tell myself it's just a part of it, and try to keep focused on the mission. And I always tell myself, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to be criticized. So don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not.
Marshall, I hate to have to replay it multiple times again, but this is yet another marination moment. I mean, this is one of these knowledge bombs that we need to hear it at least 2 more times. Marshall, are you prepared to bring it back?
I'm mentally, spiritually, metaphysically prepared.
Bring it back.
I always tell myself, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to be criticized. So don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not. I always tell myself, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to be criticized. So don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not.
I'm starting to get it.
I always tell myself, if you're not doing anything, you're not going to be criticized. So don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not.
It's so good. It's blowing my mind.
Don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not.
Oh, just one more time. Just one more time.
Don't worry about it when you are. Worry about it when you're not.
Marshall, I've got to let it go. I've got to move on. I've got to let it go.
We got to let it go.
But I don't want to let it go. I just want to hear it again and again.
So good.
Isn't it so good?
Somebody needs to hear this right now.
It was so good when it first hit my ear, the ear area, and then it moved into my ear hole, and then thus communicating to my cranium, and then my synapses were just firing, and all of a sudden, just talking about it right now, I have to move on.
We got to go back to the interview.
We got to go back.
On a bad day, it'll get me down. If someone comes after someone that I love, I get real sensitive. But as leaders, that is part of the territory. You can't be. You're entrepreneurs. They're going to create waves. They're going to have haters, and it's just we have to train our brain away from it. And I tell myself we're going to be, if we're going to make a mistake, we're going to be for people. We're going to be positive. I'm going to try to train our people and lead without being defensive, meaning as a pastor, I can train our people to be combative, which is a lot of people don't like us and we got to stand up for ourselves. And some pastors won't tell you the truth, but here's the truth. What I've just done is pitted myself against other people theologically. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be positive. Here's what we're for. Here's what we stand for. We don't have to be defensive, and try to create a culture that is more obsessed with doing good than defending what other people are saying.
There is one of the businesses I'm involved with is called OxyFresh. There's 400 franchises around the country. It's been around for over a decade. And as of today, we have 142,000 Google reviews. So if you Google carpet cleaning quotes, we're now top in the world of all categories everywhere in the world.
That's a lot of reviews on carpet cleaning.
Yes, and it's the world's greenest carpet cleaning system, okay? So some people don't like that we're niched on that. 10 times less water than Stanley Steamer's kind of the pitch. Or the haircut chain I have, Elephant in the Room. It's like a country club for men's hair. It's membership-based. We don't take walk-ins. Some people hate the fact we don't take walk-ins. It's a different business model. And again, the issue for me is allowing myself just windows when I'm allowing myself to check. So I turn my phone off on Friday at noon, and I do not look at it again until Monday. Can you talk to us about the boundaries that you're setting? Because I would imagine at any moment in time, if you ever go look at the comments on your YouTube videos or Twitter or Facebook, there's probably always one person that is complaining. I mean, what are the boundaries that you've set up for yourself in that area?
There's several different things I do. So during study time, I'll leave my phone with my assistant, and then she'll only interrupt me if it's family or something. That's just for pure interruptions. Then I actually have a second phone that I travel with, and so if I'm gone with the family, I leave the other one behind, and I take a second one that only a few people have, and I've got it locked down so I can't go on Safari, I can't download apps, I can't look at social media. I leave my computer behind, and it takes me out, if only for 4 days, from looking at what anybody's saying, so I can be 100% focused. Then 9 o'clock in the evening, we try to put the phones aside. We don't always do that, but we try to put them aside and say, at the end of the day, I don't want that little blue light in my eyes. And I don't want the last thing to do, being looking at what someone said that's crazy on Facebook. I want to be engaged with people, the people in my home. And so those are some things that we work toward. We don't always get it right, but the whole second phone, I know not everybody can afford to do that. But oh my gosh, when you have no ability to get to that other world and you're just fully present with people, that's a pretty special gift.
That right there's a knowledge bomb.
Pastor Craig, I want to end up the show on a little personal note, if I may. Which and this is transparency for the Thrive Nation.
Here we go.
Which animal group do you like the least? Cats or squirrels?
Yeah, cats that's easy. Cats they'll lift their tail and show you their backside when they walk by. That's not Christian. That's easy.
Nice. He's thought about it. That's impressive. He's thought about that. He's thought about that. That deserves more cowbell.
That did.
Pastor Craig, I appreciate you being on today's show. Your newest book, Hope in the Dark, Believing God is Good When Life is Not. Again, Hope in the Dark, Believing God is Good When Life is Not, is available in bookstores everywhere. Get it on Amazon. Get it at your local bookstores. Check it out today. Hope in the Dark, Believing God is Good When Life is Not. And now, without any further ado, we like to end with a boom. 3, 2, 1, boom! Marshall, I don't want it to be done. He just gave us a boom, but I'm not ready for it to be done. It's like, Marshall, you know how like maybe your prom or someone's wedding or some highlight moment in your life, maybe it's after the Cubs won the World Series and you just want to sit there in the stadium after the game and just say, remember when the Cleveland Cavaliers, when your team won the championship?
Right.
Remember that?
That's it. You just kind of want to revel in the moment.
And you're not sure, and they're going, attention, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to leave, but you can't stay here.
We're like, no,
and we don't want to leave. And it's on you're on sacred ground. You've just seen LeBron James bring a victory to the mistake by the lake.
Ouch.
You've just seen LeBron James bring a championship back to its roots.
But that's right.
Because you knew he's going to peace out soon and go to L.A., so you didn't want to just leave. You wanted to just let it happen.
Yeah, you got to stay there. You got to stay on that.
You're one of the first people to call the fact that he was leaving, by the way.
That's
you mentioned that he was leaving for L.A. You mentioned that right after that championship. You called it. But the point is, I'm not ready to move on. So I'm going to play one more knowledge bomb that he shared with us that blew my mind. I'm going to play it a few times because I think if we're doing America and potentially the other planets who are listening from alien solar systems, alien galaxies, we're doing them a disservice if we move on without everybody getting this next point.
What we didn't need was high-quality video teaching. What we needed was high-quality leadership at the location. And this is the mistake many people make in kind of looking from a distance. It's not about this video work or not. Video obviously works because we pay money to stream it all the time. What the key ingredient to make video teaching in church work is not the video, it's the quality of the leadership of the place.
Attend the world's best business workshop led by America's #1 business coach for free by subscribing on iTunes and leaving us an objective review. Claim your tickets by emailing us proof that you did it and your contact information to info@thrivetimeshow.com.
And eventually it has to end. I don't want it to go. I don't want it to. I'm just going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to keep talking about this moment. Other people can tune out now. They can turn it off. That's fine. But I'm just going to marinate on what I just, the wisdom that I just gleaned.
If you want to stick around, we'll be here.
We'll be here.
We'll be
You might
hanging
want to peace out, but I'm just telling you, think about this. You have to say, to grow, you have to say no. If people aren't talking bad about you, it means you're not doing anything. He spends the first 3 hours of his day organizing his day. He works 6 days a week. He's focused. He takes his wife on a date night.
It's not about the things. It's about the leadership and the people within the organization.
It's not about the things. It's about the leadership. I'm out.